Cool. All right, how did it go this week?
So, went good.
Good.
The redirections, not as,
Frequent?
not as a punishment like the whatever, flip backs with the stepping and whatnot.
Sure.
These real sharp ones.
Good.
But more dogs out this week, and
Oh.
I didn't even, definitely shit just flew off the handle. It was like, and there was a couple times where I tried kind of, doing some taps while he was kind of engaging with the dog, and it just kind of turned into, what it would have been anyways, plus with yapping his collar, yapping at the dog, jumping, just pretty. So I stopped trying to do that.
Okay, what was the number when you were,
God, I think I had gotten up to 51 maybe?
Okay. So let's say your worst experience with that, right?
Yeah.
This week. When he blew up and you started remoting, did you get him to shut down, or did he just keep?
No, and it seemed to just be escalating when I was
Sure.
tapping, so I was like, I'm probably not doing this with the right structure. So I just stopped.
So with the reactivity, when you were going up, were you going up in how many increments?
So I was not walking by somebody, and I was, honestly, there was no structure to it at all. It was twice, there was a dog that he just picked up on.
Okay.
One of them started barking at him. And so I I was just doing the back and forth, and he was doing great. And basically, it just got so ridiculous that I wasn't even, I didn't really go up any increments. I think I tweaked it once and tapped a couple times and was like, this is, hey Doc, I'm not doing this right.
Okay. We're gonna do a couple of things here. So let me see this guy. So one, this is loose.
Okay.
So I can see it, because I can see it right now in his neck when he was walking around. I could see the gap. So it's about 4 notches loose there.
Okay.
Let me try this thing. There we go. Okay. And if your wife's got any nail polish and stuff,
Yeah, mark that hole. Okay.
yeah, what you can do is just when you get home, is just put a strip,
Okay.
just like that.
Okay.
We have it up here, it's all good, but right now when he was walking, I could see the big old gap
Okay.
in the space between
Okay.
the, I don't know, there's definitely nothing going on here. Let me go ahead and is this turned on?
Yep.
Go ahead and give a tap here. Oh, tap, tap. What's your number currently?
41.
Back. Remember, go ahead and hit that pager function, that vibrate,
That's the bottom one?
the front one.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that is on, okay. And you're at 41?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and tap. Tap. Tap, there we go.
And I felt like so many different reactions this week to different numbers.
Sure.
There was definitely a lot of super sensitive, yips and stuff like
Sure.
that. When I'd be like, Jesus Christ, that was it.
It's probably the fit,
Okay.
okay? Because if there's,
That's the biggest.
yeah, so that's why having it snug is so important, because he has fur, and that fur acts as a buffer,
Gotcha.
right? So if you put on your skin, you're gonna pretty much feel it consistently,
Yeah.
because there's nothing to get in the way.
Right.
Thicker coated breeds obviously is much more difficult, but a guy like him should have some fairly consistent contact.
Okay.
So that's one thing is because when he was walking that way and I was looking at his neck, the one probe was like this, the other probe was like this.
Oh,
so I
okay.
can see the space,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're tapping them and there's nothing, because both have to make contact, is all of a sudden you're at 60 and then you turn and then you get a big reaction.
Okay.
Because you're thinking, oh, he's not feeling anything, but it's more so just to that connection.
Okay.
So consistent contact is a con to e-collar. However, with a coat like his,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that bad.
Okay.
So I would definitely notch this when you get home.
Right there.
So you just turned it up. You tapped a couple of times. He yipped, but then was still blowing up.
No, so the random yips were just when we were doing our normal things, and he'd be a little, he wouldn't turn right away, so I tapped it a couple times, and
Sure.
just, I think probably what you're saying, maybe it was just certain times, depending on which way it turned or whatever, it wasn't making full contact.
Sure.
But there was times where it was, I'd be at 35, and all of a sudden I'd get it, and he'd be like, dude! You know what I mean?
Sure,
And
sure,
2 minutes later, I'm not getting anything at 41, so. And I think it's working. It's, you know, it's,
Yeah, no. So, because a yip doesn't always mean discomfort.
okay,
Yip can be surprise.
okay,
Yip can be frustration.
okay,
Yip can certainly be for discomfort. But like here I'm on 61,
okay,
okay? And if you hit him at 54, logic says that he should be yipping right now,
yeah,
right? So, the other thing we have is emotional state,
yeah,
right? So like, yeah, I guess the human analogy would be, you ever been to a haunted house?
sure,
Okay, you know it's not real.
right,
You know it's just people in bad costumes or whatever, right? But you still get spooked,
right,
right? Because you're already on edge going in like, I'm gonna get scared, and then they surprise you and there's a big reaction,
Right.
right? So it's kind of similar for him. If he's in a state of reactivity, he's already escalated in terms of emotion.
right,
And then you add this in, and it's either the element of surprise or the element of frustration,
Right.
okay? Or he's already just emotional,
Right.
and when he feels that, it's just putting him a little bit overboard,
Sure.
okay? So what you experience actually isn't uncommon. That's why I asked like, how high can you go?
yeah,
So, when it comes to reactivity, the easiest way to address it
yes,
is when you see the dog coming,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a block, half a block, 2 blocks,
Yeah.
okay? Step aside, and then I think we spoke about having him just sitting at your side,
Yes.
shorting that leash,
too.
and then
Yeah.
just wait for it,
okay,
right?
okay,
Because, one, trying to walk past a dog at this stage
Yeah.
is very difficult for most people.
Yeah.
Okay, is that standing aside is very simple. You're here, he should be sitting down and relaxed.
Right.
Okay, and then I watch Doc, and as that dog's approaching, I'm reading him, because he's my responsibility.
right,
I look for the ears, I look for the chest, I look for the eyes, I look for the tail.
Sure.
I look for the shoulders, I look for, and when I'm standing next to him, I can see him like this to get a really good visual of everything.
yeah,
So I'm watching him, I got my number, and if I know 55 didn't work the last time, I'm gonna be at 65.
sure,
Okay? And out my peripheral range, I'm watching that dog as they're approaching, and then, let's say, typically this is the window. If I'm Doc, this is my window of reactivity.
right,
Where all this will be okay, but as soon as they hit this space right here,
right.
that's typically when the explosion happens. It does happen outside of that. This is typically the norm, okay?
When his is weird because of his vision,
Sure.
it's like sometimes it's just, it'll come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like I can watch
Sure.
that dog come right two inches from him, and then, it goes 10 feet behind me, here's a certain jingle, and like, then all of a sudden he
Trigger yourself.
reacts.
Sure, right. So he's gonna have like a non-standard kind of window.
Right, right.
So let's say he goes to 65, right? Yeah, exactly. And I remote him,
Yeah,
and he blows up, and let's say it's done, I can't do anything about it. Well, I go, all right, 65 didn't work. Next time I'm gonna be at 75.
okay,
Okay, so even failed opportunities or failed moments are learning moments.
Okay.
Now it's just putting logic to it.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a lady right now. She only did 3 classes with me because her dog was reactivity based, and the first thing we covered was how to address everything.
yeah,
And then she did her homework and came back, and then she was still struggling, but it turned out she went lower than we were at in the beginning.
Okay.
So I was like, go back on your number again, right? Because clearly it's not working.
right,
Then she took a couple weeks off, and then I saw her yesterday because she came to my pack walk, and she's like, oh, the dog's doing better. Now she blows up at the end. So it used to be when I saw the dog, to when the dog was here, to now once the dog passes. And I'm like, that's weird.
yeah,
I was like, sure. So then I was like, what's your number? She's like, 85. I'm like, we're gonna go to 105 today.
okay,
The dog had 2 moments, because what happens when she would tap the dog would blow up even more.
yeah,
So then I was telling you that we're probably too low, because it's just escalate. It would escalate, but then de-escalate. And that was the pattern. The dog would blow up and then shut down, blow up and then shut down. When it should just be shut down.
right,
So then once we went to 105, all of a sudden, the first one the dog blew up, but it was a very minor blow up.
Yeah.
And then the second hit was like, okay. Then after that, we passed by one other dog that she reacted to, because we passed about 10 dogs.
okay.
And on the other one, she just tapped and the dog just turned away and just kept moving. So what happened was, she was too low that it was escalating. Even though it was de-escalating, it was still starting the problem. And it should always just end the problem, right? So that's the whole point of this,
Okay,
is every time I see, I'm going by each dog.
okay,
Okay, as I see the first dog, 55, tap, didn't work. Now the next time I'll be at 65. That doesn't work, the next time I'll be at 75. That doesn't work, the next time I'll be at 85. So I'm making big jumps, and then you'll see, shit, once I tap him on 95, he just, whoop,
Okay.
just shuts up, right? And I go, good, 95 is that number that just shuts them down very quickly, okay? Now, if you find, let's say you do everything, you're all the way at max, you're at 127 and you tap, and then it's just blow up, and then you tap, and he doesn't settle, and you tap like, 3 to 5 times, then you tell me, hey Jesse, I was maxed out tapping, slow, and you want to do slow taps, because when you go higher power, the more you hit, the faster you hit, you're going to create something.
Right.
So what I do is, I correct the behavior, give the brain a chance to respond, and if it happens again, then I correct again.
Okay, explain it to me. So you correct the behavior a different way, or no?
So, what can happen sometimes is when, like right now, when he was like moving around, I tapped him like 3 times, real quick, boop, boop, boop. Then I stopped to go, what are you gonna do next?
Right.
And then he decided to do this, okay?
Okay.
Now, if he would still be sniffing, I would have tapped again, waited, what are you gonna do now?
Right.
Okay? So it's action.
Should be given him a chance to adjust.
Yeah, because when you're at, especially when you're at a higher number,
Yeah.
if you rapid fire hits the dog, like it can escalate.
Yeah.
Okay? And so if I know I'm at 127, I'm like here, right? Tap. And see what he does, right? And he settles a bit, but I'm pretty sure he's going to do it again because the way he's postured, completely, right? You can read that.
Yeah.
So if that was reactivity, right? Bark, 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 tap.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Bark, 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 tap. What are you going to do? Bark, 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 tap, right? Then I'm like, all right, whatever I'm at, 61 isn't working for this barking.
Okay.
71, bark, 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 tap, right? Bark, 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 didn't work. 81, tap, bark, bark, bark,
Okay.
tap, shuts up.
And the bark, bark, bark for him is, a squealing.
Yeah, I know the
shriek,
page. Yeah. No, I completely.
And then trying to spin a little bit. That's where the other thing is like, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and that's why last week I was talking about the
became so
prong.
ineffective. But yeah, the which I use, right. You think so, in order to manage him while implementing this, okay.
Yeah, so the prong, so I like doing this in the beginning because I want to see when is this going to get done by itself, right?
Okay.
But when we get, so I have a dog right now that's, that was completely like out of left field in the sense of like how they're responding.
Yeah.
Like it's bad.
Okay.
Like bad, okay? And I saw the first class and I was like, man, this is bad. Neither of us were expecting that.
Okay.
So then I gave her some homework and I think it's been 3 weeks and I saw her like a couple of days ago. And way better.
Okay.
Way better. But we had to muzzle the dog, put the dog in the prong collar, and she was still being a jackass.
And
but she had more leverage with the prong.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
And so e-collar, prong, and then a muzzle.
Yeah. Because he would go after the handler.
Yeah.
And then, I got it under control, and then I had to teach her how to get under control, because that's always the most important part.
Sure.
Is transferring everything to the owner. But the prong collar gave her so much physical leverage because he's an 80-pound dog.
Yeah.
And he's low to the ground. He's kind of like dog size here, but just 80 pounds of just muscle.
Right.
So he was just like dragging her all over the place.
Oh, dude, I know.
So then, we use these tools. It's not as like added negative. It's more so just for physical management, like you said, because he's spinning around.
Right.
And it's like
Which he doesn't pull it off like that with the prong collar.
Right.
I've only used this collar since
starting.
Collar,
Sure. So
no, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay.
So we'll go ahead and implement that.
Okay.
I can't remember your prong collar. What do you know the brand?
Remember, it's that one. It's like a clip in the back. It's big and thick, but it is a clip in the back.
So I'll send you a link.
I'll bring it in next time.
Yeah, you don't want to use that one.
Okay.
Because
I may have a regular one too.
it's Herm Springer. They're usually about $25-$35.
Okay.
You get them on Amazon.
Okay.
But definitely that clip one.
Yeah.
Like when we had them here, we would just put one of our prong collars.
Okay.
Because that strap takes away from
Okay.
the smoothness of it.
Okay.
So any altered prong collar is not good in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'll get you that information. They're not expensive,
Okay.
and you can prime it as well. Okay. So the reason why I took Doc here from you was to demonstrate the consistency of keeping him in check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Or de-escalated. So here, when you took him, he was wandering, and we started talking, and then you ended up like just dropping the leash and like letting him do his thing.
Right.
With a guy like this, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
Okay. And people might see it as mean, like, oh my God, your dog doesn't have any freedom. But this guy,
Listen,
his brain, again, no limitations, right? Is you want to put these rules on him so that he can be this, okay? So that we can get this energy and then transfer it to the kennel. And then transfer it when he sees dogs. And transfer it when you go out in the yard and he's inside, right? Because people tend to focus on, but the dog's only a problem when I'm out in the yard. Or the only problem when I'm out on a walk with them. Or only when they're in the kennel. I'm like, yeah. So then you have to focus on the times when it's not, because it's not a big problem because he's loose and whatever, right in the home. But the energy is the problem, okay? So the more I disagree with that energy, the less it becomes who he is, and the more he becomes like this, okay? And you can see like the shaking here, okay? This can be a couple of things. One, he could be a little cold because he's on my tile floor here, or two, because the brain goes under conflict. The brain wants to move, right? The brain wants to whine, and I mean, we're in a quiet room here, but like, let's say he was out on the floor where we normally train, and he was like this. Going from where we were at class 1 to this energy is a huge difference, okay? So, whenever, even though we're just gonna have a conversation, and it's kind of like, well, it really doesn't matter what dog does. It doesn't matter in the sense of like he's not doing anything bad, but it matters in the sense of his brain is unregulated, right? And so you have to regulate it for him, okay? So it's like having a kid with a disability. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Like that disability is not going to go anywhere,
Right.
You know, so you have to regulate that child. So I'm sure like parents that have kids that have like more of an intense autism, right? It's not just like any other kid where you can just, you know, teach them what to do and what not to do, and then like they can just like naturally apply it. You can trust like I don't have to be so such a hawk on you. And then those that have disabilities where it's like you have to because of that disability, right? Where they don't know how to regulate or limit themselves or have boundaries or anything like that, right? Same thing for a guy like him, okay? So I didn't say anything to Doc, and this is what I just wanted from him to do, which was just, hey, relax, dude, right? And so when we talk about what to do and what not to do with the e-collar, what to do is your obedience stuff. The heel, the sit, the stay, the come. That's what to do. One trainer put it as it's more important to train a dog what not to do than it is what to do. Which is I completely agree with, because whenever people have come to me, they think they're needing sit, stay, come or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but sit, stay, come doesn't stop the biting. Right? And like the dog's biting people. That's a don't do that. Right? So the dog can know nothing about obedience, but end up being a well-behaved dog. Okay? So here, when I took Doc, what I said was, don't go over there. Don't go over there. Don't sniff that. Don't try to go back to that. Don't go over there. So then he goes, well, if I can't do any of these things, then I might as well just chill. Okay? And you know, it's being consistent. Anytime you have Doc in your possession, even though he's technically not doing anything bad, you want to think about, is his brain going unregulated right now? Let me tame that down a bit, okay? And I'm not opposed to dogs being excited. It's just, for one, depends on the dog you have. The dog you have is very easily stimulated, which blows up into reactivity. So he's going to have much more stricter rules than I would if I had another dog. Just like going back to earlier, you have a kid with disabilities and a kid that doesn't have a disability, you know, they're going to be treated most likely differently. So same here with this guy. Like this I'm fine with, but if I start to see it start to like progress, like he's starting to turn right there, I'm going to disagree with that. Okay? And then he put his head down. Because he went from shifted this way. So if he would have went like this, with his head, sniffed, and then turned back around and laid down, I would not have done anything. But here, he shifted, then the nose went down, and like I was going to continue. So I'm like, well, I know where this is going. I'm going to disagree with it, right? And that was within a second or 2 seconds of him escalating. Because the longer you let it go, if you're like, well, let me give him 5 seconds, he will take those 5 seconds every single time. So the earlier you cap that brain, the faster, or actually that's how dogs learn to regulate, is if he goes, man, I can't even go into this thought process for a second, is they start to self-check. And then you'll see like the thought, and all of a sudden he'll just go like this and be like, like you literally see
and
the
I've
dog.
seen that on the walks. The walks have been real good, with the exception of those bluffs, in terms of him just doing the
Sure, so
standing
yes.
with me and looking at me and not pulling ahead at all. Have been good. And a lot of that, but you definitely, and the preemptive one on the walks, when you can see him just start to drift and sniff, it works great.
Good, good. So now we just gotta figure out what the level's gonna be to shut down the reactivity. Okay?
Yep.
So what we're gonna cover today is another command. This is, so like right now I'm demonstrating, even though Doc isn't in any command, I've gotten him to relax because I've simply disagreed with things. Okay? What I'm going to teach you is a command to actually help you more so reinforce this kind of state of mind. Okay? So again, anxious energy wants to move. Overstimulated energy wants to move, which is why he just keeps wandering, right? So what we're going to cover today is what we call place command. And this is something, I'm assuming he has a dog bed in the wall?
He does. Yeah.
This is meant for duration work, okay? So when we get our boards and boarding trains and everything here, we really stress duration work.
Okay.
Because it's a different type of exercise.
Okay.
This is a mental exercise, okay? So like if I have a dog here that really wants to like just do whatever it wants, kind of like Doc, we'll use this and you'll see them like just fidgeting around here. Because they can't, it's like a 3 to 4 year old kid.
Yeah, I saw the guy that I trained with a couple of times that ended up just like disappearing, literally.
Sure.
He would bring out his dog.
Sure. And play some.
And get him, yeah, when we were training with Doc, which that was when he didn't tell me he had an econ on his dog, but I was like, oh, this guy's sweet, you know,
Sure.
as he just stood there like a soldier.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, what's that?
Sure.
Because he hadn't introduced the e-collar as an option.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, so, I see how you get your dog.
Yeah. So
It's just one of those things where I was like, hey, I'm
Plateau,
starting to see that this is, no, just like realizing like, this is, you know, how even a hippie, not e-collar dog trainer has his own dog trained.
Oh, he was not e-collar?
No, he was.
No, but the trainer, like he didn't promote e-collar?
No, he had said something we could talk about, and I had brought it up a couple times.
Interesting.
But I saw, it was just an interesting moment, because he didn't tell me that, you know, like, talk about it all.
Yeah.
And then he like showed me the little thing, it was smart, this, but.
Sure.
But that was what he would bring him out, and he would say something and get the dude right on the spot.
Sure.
Which is something I would love to be able to do, so yeah.
Yeah, so for Doc, this serves for two purposes. One, it's just, I want to test that brain.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Remember, Doc becomes what you allow him to do.
Sure.
So if you practice more structure and discipline, we're trying to get more structure and discipline. Doc. The other thing is just for like, you know, so like when you said like having, was it your niece over and stuff, like in the beginning, we're going to start with the kennel.
Yeah.
The next thing, option would be, you can also use this as well.
Okay.
Where he's contained.
Sure.
And he's not like bothering everybody.
Sure.
So, it's kind of like a cageless kennel.
Yeah, which is a good option for him to have as an option. You know?
Sure. So here, when we do the place command, we have dogs here up to 2 to 3 hours at a time.
Okay. Nice.
So like growing up, when we go to church, or going to church and behave yourself, you be quiet, whatever, you can't talk. You just remember fidgeting around.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, just like you want to move.
Yeah.
You're small.
Sure.
So for dogs have the learning capacity of about a 3 to 4 year old child, and especially a guy like him who's again very easily overstimulated.
Yeah.
He wants to move. Like you can see just here, like how his head just keeps moving up and down and stuff.
Yeah.
Like right there, right? So all that stuff is his brain needing to move. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I see.
Should I tap?
Yep. Right there. You're gonna see what he does. Now his brain goes that way. Then we watch. Okay. And then let's wait for the settle. And there's the settle. Okay. But you see how they're like living right there. Now we've got a little bit of a settle. There we go. Yeah. Now the body's relaxing into it too. So you have about 5 to 10 seconds of movement post tap. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, when really we want within just tap, boom, just straight into that mode, right?
Okay.
The reason why it took him longer is because he went unchecked for a longer period of time.
Gotcha.
So, but when I had him, I was very quick on every time I saw him move, boom, 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 right? So if you think to yourself, should I tap Doc? That's actually you recognizing you should probably tap him. Just assume it and tap him, okay? You're not going to screw him up psychologically or emotionally or anything like that. He already has issues.
Yeah.
I would say one for good luck. So, here, so we're gonna have a controlled context where it's like, all right, bud, you're gonna go here, and I expect him to have problems with it. Because again, his brain wants to move, okay? So, let's say you were a doc and you sit down at a bench and you just wanna chill, you would wanna be proactive. You don't need to say anything. Just anytime doc is engaged with something, and it could be something simple as sniffing the ground, I just remote it. And I'm like, hey, we're resting right now, I'm sitting on the bench, you're gonna chill. Just like that, okay?
Right.
But when we're inside the home and we have a dog bed available to us, this is a more controlled day.
Okay, great.
There. A more controlled context where it's like, go here and don't move, and then to settle. Okay, so you see how that was a little bit quicker?
And the shaking, you don't think like that, why is he?
One of two things, remember? It's either he's cold with the floor.
He doesn't get cold usually. You know, I mean, I always notice he never gets cold like no pit. So what is that like exactly?
So if it's not the cold, it's conflict.
And will it go away? I mean, ideally, is that something you would want to go away, or is that's
Depends
just
on the
his
dog.
reaction?
But the reason why this shaking is happening is conflict.
Right.
The brain wants to move, and you're saying you can't move. So that energy has to go somewhere. So we either see it in shaking, panting, salivating, breathing very heavy, right? So that's all part of the process. And the more he gets used to, like, this isn't a big deal, like, I just need to relax, this begins to go away. So this is why we stress the duration aspect here through the facility. So we had a dog, to give you an example, it was one of our first boarding trains. He did 4 weeks with us. It was a 130-pound, I believe, Black Russian Terrier. His name was Jaeger. And the first day, we started working with them. We had him on place, again, for 2 to 3 hours, and he wouldn't lay down. He was standing the entire 2 to 3 hours, panting and salivating. And it was like that for days. Anytime he was on place, he was standing the entire time. Okay? Which is difficult, even for a human. I don't know, like 5, 6 days in, then he started to sit down, but then he would only sit down, okay? And then a few days after that, he started to lay down. And it was a big deal here because everybody could see just how uncomfortable he was because he was a year-old, unneutered, untrained, no discipline, right? So he just got slammed with boot camp. And it was such a shock to the system that he couldn't relax. And especially having the freedom in the home and then being told you have to stick here and not move for the next 2 to 3 hours was very difficult for him. And when he finally lay down, everybody was like, oh my God, did you see Jaeger finally fell asleep? And it just shows you just how unsettled the brain was because it took days before he went from standing to sitting and then more days until he went from sitting to laying down and being able to fall asleep. Okay, so I think we've done a little bit with Doc here because I wanted to push him more to help him settle. So he has some familiarity with it, but definitely something that you can utilize within the home to help push this this behavior here. Okay, so I'm gonna have you go to walk with Doc. Don't worry about heel. Just walk around. You're gonna bring him over to the front of this placemat here. Good. And what you're going to do is go and shorten your leash. Yeah, that's good there. And what you're going to do is about from that maybe 2 feet back there, so just a little bit closer, is you're going to start tapping. And then you're going to, with very subtle pressure, pull Doc towards the placemat. Okay. Now he shouldn't have any apprehension because I'm pretty certain we've done it with him a couple of times. But if he does have apprehension, you're going to keep that tapping. And you're going to pull a little bit more to give more physical force to put him or place him onto the placemat. Okay? Yep, so one short leash, and then tap, 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 tap. Yep, and then more of a pull, tap, 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 tap. Good, and right there, relax. Wait a moment. Good, and praise, and boy. Good job.
Good boy.
We're going to say the word break.
Break.
And we're going to repeat that 4 more times, okay? So you just walk around, circle back.
So I should not be tapping when I'm walking.
Correct. There's no heel here, we're just resetting.
So he's not in training mode right this second.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And if Doc were to try to run towards the placemat, you would just pull him back and not allow him to do so. Because we want him to do it only when he feels the tap.
Gotcha.
Okay? And when you're ready, tap, 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 tap. Good. We're gonna relax, wait a moment. And boy, good job.
Good boy.
And break.
Break.
Good, we're gonna do 3 more.
Okay. Should I sit him first?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
Tap, yep. Tap, tap, tap. Good.
Good boy. Good boy. Break.
2 more. Good.
Good boy.
And 1 more.
Break.
Tap, tap, tap. Right. Very good. Excellent. So what we're doing here is we're teaching what we call the send.
Okay.
You're sending him to the placement.
Spot.
Okay. So what Doc is learning right now is there's another answer to shutting down remote.
Okay.
So the previous weeks it was stay at my side
Right.
or chill out. Now it's go to this thing.
Okay.
Now the reason why I teach place is it's the easiest stationary command to teach.
Okay.
So sit is very strict. It's you put your butt down, you don't move.
Right.
Down, very strict. It would be like lay down like this, don't move. Place is go here, and I don't care what you do, but you can sit,
Okay.
stand, or lay down.
Okay.
Just don't step off of the area.
Got it.
Okay, so it's a little bit more lenient, making it easier for people to use
Okay.
realistically.
Sure.
And it can be anything. We have an elevated dog bed here. You can use it as regular dog bed.
Actually, I have both.
You have both? Yeah.
I got both ones in the attic, so I can
Okay.
get back up.
And you can have more than one.
Okay.
It can be a towel. It can be I've had people use bathroom mats or
Okay.
kitchen
It
mats.
should not be, it's a different type of thing than the crate though, right?
Right. So
Treat
like,
it differently as a
it's
crate.
treated
Don't include
differently.
that, lump that in with, as one of these spots.
yeah, like I wouldn't call crate place. It'd be
Okay.
crate or kennel, whatever.
Okay.
But you can say like place and have 3 different objects be placed.
Okay.
And like maybe it's the elevated dog bed in the dining room.
Okay.
And it's like the dog bed in the living room.
Okay.
And then like in the kitchen, it's a kitchen mat.
Okay.
Right? They're all placed, but because of the setting he's in, he's
Oh,
going
right,
to interpret
that's
it
which one.
differently. Correct.
Okay.
All that we need is something that has a perimeter.
Okay.
Okay? So I couldn't say place and expect him to learn like in this corner
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Because there's no perimeter to it. Okay? So we need something that has a clear tip. Yep, tip, tip. Right. Has a clear defined outline. Okay? So like right here, he tries to sneak off because that's the brain wanting to move.
Sure.
So here, you gave a couple of taps, that was perfectly correct. You did a little bit of leash pressure to guide him back. And what you just taught him was, when I send you to this area, you're not to move off of it.
Right.
Okay? It's like sending a kid to the room.
Okay.
So like me growing up, my mom's having friends come over, she's like, Jesse, go to your room, I don't care what you do, play video games, read a book, do
Sure.
homework, talk to your friends on the phone,
Sure.
but just don't come out of your room.
Right.
So it's the same thing for place here. Is if you have guests come over and you tell Doc, hey, go over here, it's like, I don't care what you do on there, but you
Yeah.
can't step off of it,
Okay.
okay? Now, in Doc's particular case, because he is one that wants to his brain wants to move, is you would be a bit more strict with him than I would be with another dog.
Okay.
So like earlier, when he was like sniffing and all that stuff,
Yeah.
like I would continue what we did there on here as well.
Okay.
Now, what you may get is confusion. So if he starts to sniff, you might tap him and he might try to step off.
Yeah.
Because he's thinking he got tapped for being on place.
Right.
Right? So then you just continue tapping him, lead him back, and then he goes, oh, okay. He's like, I got tapped, but it wasn't for being on here because I got tapped to go back.
Right.
What was it for?
Okay.
And then the next time he tries to sniff something, you tap him again, he's like, oh. He's like, I'm just not supposed to escalate or get stimulated when I'm on the place, but it's not the placemat itself that's causing the tap.
Okay.
Okay? Questions on that so far?
No. No.
So I'm gonna have you go ahead and release him. You're gonna say break,
Break.
and I'm gonna have you send Doc here from a little bit further of a distance. I'm gonna have you send him back from about 3 squares away from the placemat, okay?
Break.
And I'll be right back, which is grab my phone real quick so I can track time. Tap, tap, tap.
So when I'm seeing him like keyed up like this, should I be tapped until I see him
Like
maybe
this here?
he's sitting, or am I just, this is okay? Even though I can see his energy is,
Right, because he
Intense.
starts to stimulate, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna get what we call passive, what I call like passive alert, which the dog is like when I came in, he was like just, what's up, right?
yeah.
But there wasn't a ton of energy behind it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and you're gonna have to experiment. So like, let's say with
Right.
people, it's fine, but then with like other dogs, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what we teach is avoidance behavior. So I had a client's dog. He was super reactive the first class, and then by the second class, what happened was when he would see a dog approaching, if this was his owner's leg, he would literally take his head and go behind the owner's leg, and the dog would pass, and then he'd come out. Okay. So we taught him, if you can't handle looking at a dog, look somewhere else. I don't care where you look, just don't look at the dog.
Okay.
So then he just chose to go like this, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna see how just by, of course, stepping aside, shortening the leash, having him in that sitting relaxed position, and observing, and then just quickly, with each instance of reactivity, bumping that number,
Okay.
and see what's gonna work.
Okay.
Okay? It's really just trial and error. Every
Okay.
case is different. The first approach is always low to high. I have another dog that's actually very similar to him,
Okay.
and I can send you her video because her dog gets stimulated just as much as him,
Okay.
but her dog fights more.
Oh, okay.
And then we ended up capping it. The last class is just 127, and every time the dog did anything, it was just a quick pop,
Yeah.
and then the dog was like really good.
So like when he would get aggressive towards another dog, that would check it.
Yeah, but except at that point, what we did was we were tapping her for the slightest thing.
Okay.
Okay, because I was teaching her because I always do the approach is always start low, work your way up.
Yeah.
It's always the approach in
Sure.
the beginning.
Okay.
Because I got to learn what's gonna work.
Sure.
Because if I just come in and say blast your dog at 127, I don't know if anything below that was gonna work and would work without putting the dog under so much stress.
Right. Right.
Now in her case, she had already done 3 to 4 weeks of the low to high, and even though there was improvement, she's like, yeah, the dog still blows up even if the dog's a block away. And like, holy crap, like we should be past that.
Okay.
So then what I said was like, you know what, 127, and then we had the session. So I'll send that to you because I think it'll be a good watch for you.
Okay.
I don't want you to jump into that.
Okay.
But so you're gonna do, if we did 55 last time, if
Yeah.
that was the last and the highest point you went to last time,
Yeah.
next time I'm gonna be at 65.
Okay.
And also think of it this way, you're at 61 right now
Yep.
for simple obedience.
Yeah.
So what does that tell us?
Oh, right. Right.
That behavior is probably gonna be higher,
Right.
right? But we're still doing that approach.
So you think like or you know that the like heightened, like you feel confident that it is controllable with a higher number. It's not just that it's gonna like send it into, I perceived it as just being like this tailspin because of the stimulation of the dog and then the stress of the thing just kind of turned it into like this perfect storm of madness. So
Sure,
you think that's just literally it needs to be higher to get him, to eliminate the dog aspect of the madness.
Right.
Okay.
Because if you're too low, you're just annoying him.
Okay.
Okay, and that's why earlier when I spoke about
Yeah.
that lady where we went up to 105,
Yeah.
because her dog was escalating her
So
dog,
pissing him off as opposed to redirecting him.
just shutting it down. Right.
Disciplining him.
But we're doing the 55 to 65 to 75 to see what's going to be that perfect number, as
Okay.
opposed to assuming and just jumping to 127.
Okay.
Because that just jumping to the higher number can create its problems on its own if not done correctly.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you ever see dogs, that's why I tell people like, if you see dogs, go for it. Because the only way to learn
Yeah.
what's going to work, what's not going to work, is to just force the issue.
Yeah.
So when you come back, you're like, Jesse, we went all the way to 95, and until 95, like nothing worked, and then all of a sudden it was very easy. And I go, great, but because you went out and you just pushed it,
Yeah.
it's going to be a shit show for a bit.
Okay.
It's just part of the process.
Okay.
Okay.
And is it okay? I was doing a lot of just kind of like went by the park and was just kind of hanging out and waiting for dogs to pass by because there were dogs everywhere.
Sure.
And is that an okay maybe thing to
Sure.
Trying to do,
The
instead
only
of trying to
thing,
do it while you walk. This way I just have more control of it, you know, as opposed to if I'm walking. and
controlled context is always, that's why I say, you know, if you see a dog, step aside.
Yeah.
It's controlled context now.
Okay.
Because what's gonna happen is, when you're doing all your research,
Right.
what's gonna work.
Right.
So then, you know, fast forward in a few months, it's bound to happen, we're gonna turn the corner, there's gonna be a dog there,
Sure.
right? Is you've already done it 100 times.
Right.
That you're gonna click right into that mode of like, this is what I do to control a situation, and you jump
Sure.
to the number and everything, and you're gonna be able to resolve it easily.
Sure.
Or much easier than you would have prior.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
The only thing I'll tell you, because this does happen, is expect people to maybe give you shit,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, it is what
So,
it is.
it's happened to me, it's happened to clients. I always tell people, you know what you're dealing with, they don't, so.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and we're gonna do a couple more of the sends here,
Okay.
and then we're gonna start adding the word to it as well.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have you step about, just one step closer, about there, that's good. And I'm gonna have you start tapping with a little bit of leash pressure
Okay.
to send a dock from that distance over here, okay?
Okay.
And then why don't you just turn with them to make life a little bit easier, and then just pull them this way, yep. Yep, there you go. Good. Let's go down here at 61. Let's go down to 45. Good, and break.
Break.
Good, and we're gonna repeat that 4 more times.
Okay. Now I just tapped him on break. Is that okay? Or is that confusing me?
Not really, because it's not bad, because you wanted him more at your side.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
a little bit of pull, yep. Right,
Can I come in a little
a
bit?
little bit, yep, yep, just little steps at a time, yep, right there. Good. Let's go down to 38.
And you're just saying that because this one, it's clearly not taking much to get him.
It's getting
This
easier,
particular one,
and he's becoming
getting
more
a message.
vocal.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Break.
Right, good. Yeah, yeah, there you go, much easier. Yep, 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 yep. Good, yep, good, and relax. We'll do 2 more.
Okay. Break. Break.
Right, good. So that was shut down right there.
Okay.
When he lay down,
Yeah.
because he's going, I don't want to do it. The good thing is it only took the same number to get him to move.
Yeah.
A lot of times it'll take more power.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do 1 more.
Break.
Right, there you go. Good. And relax. Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Question real quick before I forget. I know screw you up on time. How do I end break? Like, so when I'm walking and we're doing heel, and then I get to the end of the corner and I say break and I give him 5-10 minutes.
sure.
Do I need to end break or do I just, okay, is there a trigger for getting him to know?
Yeah,
if
did we
break's
say heel
over?
last week?
Is there, okay, so like if he's, you know, I've always got him on leash, he's not off leash, but
Right.
his break, he's definitely good about when I say break, he gets it somehow. He like got picked it up pretty quick that he can do his thing.
Sure.
So just the heel, if he's over there, heel should get him right back to me,
So,
ideally.
so technically that's a come, right?
Okay,
But
heel doesn't come.
no, so
Oh.
that, like if he's over here,
Yeah.
away from you, that's technically come over
Okay.
here. Heel is a walk with me,
Right.
stay with me, sit when I
So
stop.
how do I get him from sniffing and all that during break?
Come back.
Can I say, I mean, he knows come, so should I use come?
You
And
can
that's
do it for
his
now. I mean,
trigger
You, so,
that, is this related to message?
no, it's fine, it's just, what I would do instead
Yeah.
is just when you're ready for him,
Yeah,
give him a little bit of a pull towards you
okay,
and tap
Okay.
to draw him in.
okay,
Once he's in your space, say heel
okay,
and start moving.
okay. So
Okay.
just direct him towards you, that can.
Correct, and then,
So even if like, because he's on a leash for his break,
Mhm.
you know, there's already some pulling, you know what I mean, a little bit, he's not like real bad about it, but do I wanna kinda discourage Like, should I try and regulate his brake behavior a little bit? Like, if he kind of starts to pull me around during brake or try to pull me around?
So technically, when he's in brake, technically he can't pull you, right?
Okay.
Because he's under no command.
Okay, cool.
Now, you make the rules though.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
get clients who go, Jesse, because I have one right now in particular who is terrible with pulling.
Okay.
And they're like, can we regulate this? Because they're like, we get it, he's on brake, but it's really like he's just jerking them all over the place.
Right.
So I was like, absolutely. So then
Yeah.
what we did was they put a prong on him to help limit, so that he
Sure.
wouldn't just do that.
Sure.
But then anytime you put pressure on him, they would just tap, so that he learned not to put pressure on the leash because
Okay.
he'd get remoted. So then like they would just stand still and he would wander around them without.
So he kind of understood that brake was not.
Wasn't like a free for all. Like you can
Okay.
still put rules to things.
Okay.
But technically speaking, brake means you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if the dog's excessive with certain things, you can definitely put rules to that as well.
Okay.
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 So for now, heel is the now we're walking.
Yeah.
Everything goes into effect.
Okay.
Stop, dock, brake. Now you can pee and poop.
Yep.
Once he's done, a little bit of a tug towards you, just a little bit of pressure.
Okay.
Tapping till he comes in. And wait a moment.
Okay.
Heel, boom, and then we're walking
So it
again.
doesn't have to be some like brake and comment. That, like,
Yeah, there's no
brake
end.
activates.
When you
Just
cue,
get him by it and then.
yeah, when you
Okay.
cue the heel or
Yeah.
whatever it is, that's technically ending the brake, but there's just no cue to that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Other questions?
pretty much what I've been doing. No, that sounds good.
Okay,
Just
cool.
making sure there wasn't an end brake command that I needed to do.
No, so you're good. So what we're gonna do here is
Yeah.
same exercise, but
Okay.
you're gonna cue the word place now. So
Place.
you're gonna walk
Okay.
around, come back, stop where you are.
Okay.
Before you start that tapping, you're gonna say the word place.
Okay.
Start lightly tugging like you were before to direct them.
Okay.
There's just gonna be no repeat. Okay, so just say place one and then make it once and then make it happen.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
go for it.
Great.
All right.
Place.
Right there. Good. This is fine. Good. Break.
Break.
Good. 4 more.
Okay. Place. Break. Place.
There you go. Good. Just a couple more.
Break.
Go for it.
Place.
And last one.
Break. Place.
Beautiful. What we're gonna do here, go ahead and have a seat and you're hold on to your leash. All right, we're talking about the homework. Okay, so now you have the cue.
Yep.
So technically, if you don't say anything, he's on his dog bed or whatever, like that's not a command.
Right.
Just so it's clear that you have to cue it.
Okay.
This sending exercise, 1 to 2 times a day, 2 to
Okay.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Real short. Okay.
Okay.
Very simple. Once you feel like he's confident and comfortable with when you say place, he goes to the object. You don't need to do it anymore. You just simply use the command. Okay. If you're gonna have multiple objects, like bed in the dining room or living room, and then
I will probably bring just this one downstairs.
okay.
And then I don't have to make his bed a place, right?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll probably just use his, we got exactly one of these upstairs, so I'll bring that down and.
Okay. So then
Start there.
when you're gonna use it, you have to teach him. Like it's not gonna just transfer at this place. You're gonna have to do a session like this.
Sure.
And then you're gonna go, okay, this becomes place, right?
Okay.
Now, if you keep it in the same spot, it makes it easier for him.
Yeah.
But you can also move it around. So like
Okay.
let's say you're gonna go, I'm gonna bring you in the garage with me. I'm gonna bring this to and you place them in the garage.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the object itself, because I can pick this up and move it.
That might be good for the back deck too.
So it's transferable.
Yeah.
And I've had people that they'll have a dog bed that they use, and then they'll throw it in their car when they go to like a restaurant and just pop it down.
Sure.
They'll use that too.
Okay.
So it's really kind of adaptable to the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
But you do want to do a session of just teaching them what it is, where you tap them with the leash pressure, no words.
Okay.
Do that a few times, and then start to see the word place.
Okay.
This command has no real limitation. So like you could go home right now, put him in place, and have him there for 3 hours.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
Sure.
However, he's going to make mistakes.
Right.
He's going to want to try to exit. Okay.
Okay.
So at this phase, you want to keep that leash on him.
Okay.
What I suggest is in the beginning, you do this while he's nearby you to make life easier.
Sure.
So like, let's say you're gonna watch TV,
Yeah.
you got your couch right here, you got your dog bed here, dock place, you tap him, I might have the leash over the couch, or I might step on it, and I watch TV.
Sure.
30 minutes goes by, all of a sudden I start to see Doc trying to sneak away, I start tapping him,
Yeah.
use the leash to bring him back, I don't say place again, I'm
Okay.
correcting him.
Okay.
He goes back, I go back to watching TV. 45 minutes later, trying to sneak off again.
Gotcha.
Tap the tap, right? So you don't want to repeat the command, because if you repeat it, you're resetting.
Right. Okay.
You want to teach them, when I send you here, it's go there and don't try to escape,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So, you can do 30 minutes, you can do 3 hours, you can do 10 minutes, you decide.
Okay.
People always go like, oh, but the dog, like, they're like just like laying there. Like, dogs sleep 16 to 20 hours a day.
Right.
You know, all you're doing is picking where the dog is doing it.
No.
And this is really, to press him and that brain of his, okay?
Which there's value to that, right?
Yeah.
Stressing him out as long as he's not behaving badly is good for wearing him out, right?
Well, one, to learn how to handle stress, you have to go under stress,
Yeah.
right? So that's the whole thing about like reactivity and how that stuff works.
Yeah.
Is yes, to learn how to deal with it, you have to put him through it and then teach him how to go through it, okay? The other thing is, for him, it's the notion of you cannot move, and I know you really want to move.
Yeah.
That's challenging for him, okay? Just teaching him like, look, you can chill, dude. Like, you don't have to be constantly stimulated,
Right.
okay? So like, let's say, for instance, when I got up to go get my phone,
Yeah.
he just did his escalation level,
Yeah.
right? He's like, where are you going?
Right. Right.
And I'm like, dude, man, I just like opened the door.
Right.
And I don't know if you noticed, we were doing 60 all the whole time. And all of a
Right.
sudden, once he got stimulated, 60 was now a bit too much.
Right.
And that's why he started going down,
Interesting.
okay?
Okay.
So,
So wait, so 60, so he got, 60 was too much when he was,
in that particular setting, yeah.
interesting, okay.
That's why I said,
But I mean, his higher energy led to us wanting to go down in that particular
and this,
situation.
yeah, but there's not
But that's,
different, I know what you're getting at,
Yeah.
because with the dog, we're talking about going higher.
right,
But with the dog, it's a different kind of stimulation,
Sure.
as opposed to me getting up and moving,
okay,
okay?
okay.
And, like, for me, it makes sense because I've done this for so long.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for the average dog owner, it's like, that doesn't make sense.
No, I get
Like,
you though.
but once you get used to it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do for my particular dog.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
So, two times a day, 2 to 3 minutes for
Okay.
the go-to place. But then the actual application of it,
Yes.
you can do an hour.
Okay.
What I suggest is.
You mean the 2 to 3 minutes, like the routine?
The routine,
Okay,
what we just did.
Got it.
What we just
Okay.
did.
No,
And then you can do, you can end it with him being here for an hour.
Sure,
Okay, and just correcting him whenever he makes a mistake,
sure.
and then break to let him know that the job is done.
Okay.
Okay, I would not place him and then try to walk into a different room.
Yeah, no.
Okay, that takes time. You can certainly do that, it just takes time.
Okay.
This week, we want to make it easy on ourselves, have him nearby, so I can correct him while I'm watching TV,
Okay.
doing computer work, reading the book, whatever it is, right? So I just apply this as I go about my day with Doc.
And now if he hears something and reacts, spasms, I should still stick to it, right?
Yeah.
Just,
So like,
I'm
here.
not gonna say it again. I'm just gonna continue quick until he figures out what he's supposed to be doing.
Correct,
And
and
it
that might require less or more, okay?
Okay.
So always feel free to take your time, don't worry about like, again, am I gonna screw up my dog?
Yeah.
Because you have to do the research to learn about how is Doc going to, what's gonna work best for Doc.
Sure.
Okay? For me, I go up and down really fast because I can see whether or not it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Okay.
So, but for you, you have to go through that learning process.
Right.
For the reactivity stuff, again, remember to step aside,
Yeah.
You know, if we did 55 the last time, then I'm gonna start at 65 this next time. If it doesn't work that time, then go to 75. You're trying to stop him and de-escalate him during the context of the reactivity while the dog is there.
Yes.
So the last thing he remembers is I blew up, I got corrected, and I never saw the dog passing by, and I was chilled.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how the brain starts to process, like, I don't need to be reactive when I see other dogs.
Okay.
I'll get you the link for the prong collar,
Okay.
and I'll get you the link for that video, how it makes video.
Okay. That'd be great.
So you can just see it. Again, don't go into it with 127. I just want you to kind of
No, I
can
get
see
you.
the difference of like, oh, this is what Jesse meant.
Using the high number one.
Correct. Because in the class prior, we were doing low to high, and you can, if we were able to de-escalate or beat, it's so much more work.
Okay.
And then in the second video, it's just like immediately within a tap, the dog's like fine.
Okay.
Don't want anything to do with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
here, tip, 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 yeah, tip, tip, tip. A little bit more pressure. There you go. Good. Because this assumption is you move, I move.
I get to
right?
go. Whee!
Yeah, so stuff like that are things that I use to my advantage.
Yeah.
And yes, exactly, correct it.
Okay.
And then, you know, what you could do is if you're sitting on the couch, as you stand up, he gets up.